Hello, everyone. Thor here. I just want to talk about Final Fantasy Remake 2. I believe there's going to be an announcement at E3, especially at the Integrate just around the corner. There's a lot to talk about, and I think I figured out what's going to happen. It's going to turn out that Final Fantasy Remake 2 is actually just Kingdom Hearts 11.52 divided by pi, and you have to beat all of them to finally get it. That's it. In all seriousness, that was just a joke, but I think there's a lot to say about Final Fantasy Part 2. Uh, I'll start off with I think Integrate's going to be more of a preview than an intermission. I think you'll jump around the first one, but I think you'll start seeing more of Part 2. I think it's Part 2 is going to pick up directly at the end of um, the Integrate DLC. I believe that you'll go. I think part two is going to probably start off at the story of Calm, and maybe you'll start off as like Sephiroth, and that'll be the trading mode. Kind of like running through the reactor. I think the first mission with Sephiroth and Cloud telling the story is where it'll pick up. I think you'll be able to explore Calm. There'll probably be a bunch of side missions. It'll be like one of those sectors of Midgar, and I think that'll be the first chapter or two. And obviously Tifa's gonna know what's going on, but I think Aerith is gonna have some knowledge that Cloud's not telling the truth, and maybe comment. And I really think it could go a lot of ways. And uh, I don't think this is gonna go exactly the same way. So I think you go through Calm. I think you'll go through some missions there, meet a bunch of characters. They'll probably slip in some more characters from the compilation of Final Fantasy. I don't think they're gonna have too much of the AI. I can't remember his name right now from part one because the um, makers of Final Fantasy VII Remake didn't seem too excited about the character. I kind of picked these games that Final Fantasy VII characters appear in because it's kind of part of the joke. Because I really think, yeah, with Zack maybe alive, who knows where this is all gonna go. It's gonna get very Kingdom Hearts like real quick. I think in the beginning, I think raising chocobos is gonna be a big part of it. I don't think they're gonna let you get a gold chocobo, maybe, but I think the world's gonna be kind of restricted and maybe more zoned. I think the open worldness of like Final Fantasy 15 is probably too much. I think the world map should be more like Dragon Quest 11 or like Final Fantasy 12, where it's like sections. You can go exploring the world; it's pretty open, but I mean, even the original was kind of like zoned off, and I think it's going to be a lot like that. With the raising of chocobo, so that's why I don't think they're going to give you a gold chocobo, so you don't have like free reign. But they have to include chocobo breeding and later chocobo racing, which is why I included that. Because chocobo racing was fun in the first one, and I think they could do an even better job in this one. I think that's a mini game you can spend some time in and have some fun with. I'm sure they're going to make it so you needed to escape the Midgar Zalem. I think you can fight the Midgar Zalem. Maybe it'll be like a secret boss, kind of like fighting Bahamut was or something like that, where you can take out the Midgar Zalem and maybe get its enemy skill. That'd be really cool. And maybe have that be one of the most powerful moves in the game. But yeah, speaking of Intergrade being around the corner and E3 being in a couple weeks, there's rumors of a Final Fantasy Souls-like game being developed by Team Ninja. So I think Square Enix likes to put on a big show and have a lot of people talking about them. So I think since this game's kind of being leaked, and I really think they want it to be linked, like I think the leak's very intentional, and a lot of people have already seen that footage. So and that's Team Ninja working on it with the Final Fantasy. There's so many Final Fantasy stories or um, worlds that could take place in, but that's neither here or there. I think Square Enix at E3 this year is going to go big, and I think they're going to end their show with. They're definitely going to probably announce the date of Remake Part Two. That would be huge, and I think it's to be sooner than later. I imagine it'll be early maybe March or April 2022, maybe sooner before that. I mean, that would be great. I imagine the development time wouldn't take as long because they already have a lot of the assets made. Of course, it's going to be upgraded, but they can reuse a lot, and they're saying it's going smoothly. They already showed they're including Fort Condor in Integrate in the DLC, so I imagine you'll have to do Fort Condor right after on your way to Junyan, and I'm sure you'll run into Yuffie somewhere along the way, and she'll probably steal some materia, and I'm sure there'll be a whole chapter about chasing her down, kind of like what she does at Wutai later in the game. They can have a lot of fun with that and probably develop a whole chapter where you capture her, but then you find out she's fighting Shinra, and I'm sure that she joins you. And I'm sure in Intergrade, there's going to be a lot of times where you've crossed paths with her and not realized it. Like she'll be like a character that's dressed up or something. I'm sure they're going to make constant references, or where they just missed, just missed Cloud in the party, or things she did affected it. I think there's a lot they could do there, and I think she's going to be a big part of part two, especially as you go to the next continent. There's also a big rumor that sales of part one didn't meet their expectation because it was an expensive game to make. They sold about 5 million, which is pretty decent, but I believe they're expecting more in the range to 7 to 10 million, but they didn't get there. Maybe when it goes to PC, it'll hit higher because there's a huge modding community and a lot of people play it on PC today. There might be more opportunity there, but some investors don't think they can do more. It wouldn't make financial sense to do more than two parts. But personally, I think this has got to be at least three. I think three makes sense. One for each disc. The disc three in the original was just a small. You go fight Sephiroth or go to the Gold Saucer. Um, so I really think they're going to do three, and I'll get into that a bit. What how I think this is going to go, where part two will end. And also, of course, I think the Gold Saucer is going to be in part two. I think the mini games will be pretty cool in this one. I think they already did the motorcycle chase. I'm sure they'll turn that into a game just like in the other. And as you unlock mini games like snowboarding in the main game, I'm sure they'll make an appearance at Gold Saucer. They'll just be broken down like they were in the original game until they're ready. Like I said before, they could expand. They could expand on a lot with the compilation of Final Fantasy, the other characters. I mean, look how much bigger of a part Jesse, Wedge, and Biggs got, and they were great characters. And I'd love to see more of that. Let's make this 5 parts. Let's just go all out. Another thing I want to comment on though is I really hope they fix the aerial combat. I had a lot of fun with the combat in part one, but I'd really like to see them. I adapted. It wasn't horrible, and you could knock people down pretty easily, especially with Cloud and Tifa. In part two, I think they're going to make Red 13 playable. I think they have to. I think it's going to have a big part Cosmo Canyon. I think for the most part, you'll have maybe one of the party members. You'll have to use Cloud. In some sections you won't. They'll divide up, but I think they'll let you choose one of your party members. But I'm sure there'll be one that you'll have to have Red 13 at Cosmo Canyon because it's a big part for him. In some parts, they're going to choose the party for you, but I think they'll utilize that pretty well. I mean, in Hojo's lab, they utilize that really well, and you jump between the two, so that would be really cool. I think they can do a lot of cool maps where almost like maybe they did in Wild Arms, where the party splits and you hop between each section to help the other go forward. That'd be kind of a cool little thing, and I think we'll finally meet the real Sephiroth rather than the Whisper Sephiroth. I think it's going towards because we got a glimpse of him at the end of Remake Part 1. He's way more powerful, so I think he's going to be the presence over all of this and trying to get the black materia and getting the party to get it for him. But Aerith and him both have an idea. They know what's going on, so it's going to be really interesting with what they do with that knowledge in Part 2 and how all the other characters catch up to it. And then I believe they're going to do more with Roche. He was kind of underutilized, but he was an interesting soldier character that will pop up, I'm sure. On that note, I don't know what they're going to do with Zack. Is he in another timeline? Because the Shinra dog is completely different. Is he dead in this timeline? Is he alive? I don't really know. Or is he kind of in between? I think he's because Cloud's got the Buster Sword, so I think he's still dead, but maybe he was alive and died some other way. It's gonna be interesting with how they handle that and what that means. But might just get really Kingdom Hearts like, and we might just see a little bit of it all. In Remake Part One, they had some extra chapters with like Tifa and another one that you played as Turks that got cut because of time constraints. Obviously, some things are going to fall victim to it in this one as well. It's just what happens with game development. I'm going to be really interested to see though what they plan to expand on, and I can't wait to like read the director's commentary in the books to see what they thought of and what characters from the compilation could have made it and will make it. So I'm very excited for all that. Towards the end, the Sephiroth mentioned 7 seconds, and 7 seconds is how long it takes for him to kill Aerith. So in the scene, it's exactly 7 seconds. So I'm guessing they're referencing that. So I'm really wondering if I'm thinking this might end at with the Temple of the Ancients, and maybe you have like a chance to save Tifa or Aerith. I just played Mass Effect 1 where you have to choose Caden or Ashley. They might do something similar to that. Um, I really think this is going to end on a cliffhanger. I mean, Aerith, um, maybe Aerith sacrifices herself. I don't think she's going to go down the same way. It might be Tifa instead. And I'm sorry if you have to choose between Aerith and Tifa. It's just like in Mass Effect 1. I'm always choosing to save the same person. And sorry, Aerith, but it's going to be Tifa every time. Aerith is a great character, and we all remember the rumors to revive P materia, all the internet forums. So I really hope they like put a reference to that. That doesn't like work, or maybe that's actually a way you can revive her later, or prevent her death. I could see this doing like multiple endings or something. Plenty of other games have done it, so it'd be interesting to have it end differently, or have you be able to revive her, or maybe no one will die. But so my whole thing with it is I would not be surprised if they kill Tifa instead. But thematically, for the story, like Aerith dies trying to save the world, and that's like her whole arc. Whereas like Tifa's got other arcs falling into the life stream, but this is going to be its own story. So not all those things are going to happen, or they're going to happen way differently with different characters. It's wide open. I'm excited for what they're going to do. I'm excited for the options. I think it's going to be great either way. Remake one, I thought was amazing and definitely like exceeded my expectations. I loved this game when I was a kid, and I was just glad Remake one was really as good as it was, and I hope this continues. I hope I want to see a new or updated story, because I mean, there's a theory that the original one's the bad ending because they show Red 13 500 years later, and the world's like destroyed, and it's not great to having children. So you know, hopefully we can find a way to get the good ending this time. And I hope all that I really like the characters in this one, and I don't want to see anyone go down. So, but maybe someone does. We'll have to see. Like I said, I think this is going to end on a cliffhanger. I think it's going to go up to the Temple of the Ancients, or with Seth Rogen summon the meteor. That seems like the appropriate place to end part two, and this is the appropriate place to end this video. So, Thor out.